All right, let's begin our session for today. Right? All of you are able to look at the slide right now? Tell me. Okay, perfect. Yes, sure, Krishnakant. I'll take care of this. Okay, all right. So, our daily editorial analysis, right? Let's see what I have picked up for you today. Okay, I need a second from you. Just give me a second, huh? Okay, so let's begin our session. I think those of you who have been attending for the last 2 days know me. I am Nikita. These are my credentials, right? Now, what is our agenda for today? Let's talk about that. Okay, so today I picked up an article that has a few vocabulary words, okay, and a bit of jargon about a particular field. So let's talk about how to tackle such articles if we do not know the meanings of the words, if we do not know that jargon, right? Okay. Then, of course, this is an agenda for every session, as I told you, that we'll try to read and understand a chosen excerpt. So today I have an excerpt for you. You will have to tell me its source. Okay. And yes, as I said, that we'll assess the likely source and tone of the chosen excerpt today. Right? I'll not even be giving you any options. You will have to tell me where do you think this article, this piece of text, this poem, whatever I give you has been taken from. Okay? All right, and please, this is the third day that you're attending. If you like the sessions, please do like them. Please share them with your friends so that, if let's say they are learning how to read, how to approach a passage, how to look at the structure, the central idea, they also get that knowledge, right? Please do your homework. I am reiterating this. I have a whole slide on it, but I'm reiterating this that please do your homework and any queries that you have. If you want to just share what you've done, post in the comment section, right? And I'm sure a lot of you have already subscribed to Gradeup. If you haven't, subscribe to our MBA channel, right? Okay. So this is the schedule, YouTube schedule, Monday to Sunday, right? It's already Saturday, so you can look at Saturday and Sunday schedule. We have a session at 12 p.m. I'm taking this session. It's a vocabulary session, words based on Harry Potter spells. So I am a big time Potterhead, okay? If you also love Harry Potter spells, even if you don't and you want to learn some vocabulary words, do attend. Okay? Right. And at 3 p.m. today, we have this session, Roadmap to JBIMS, Jamnalal Bajaj, right? If you want to get into this institute, which is a very prestigious institute, learn about the journey of someone who has already been there, Ms. Urvika Sonar, right? I'll be anchoring this session, so I'll see you again at 3 p.m. today. Okay. Then tomorrow at 7:30, we have another session. Anybody who's targeting IIMs, even if you're targeting some other entrance exam, some other colleges, then this is a session for you because you'll be learning about various sections here. You'll be learning about GD and interview here. So that's important for everybody, I believe. Right? Okay. So here's the video. Uh, are you getting the sound for it? So let me. Yes, Aniket, I asked you. Aniket is asking what was the homework. So I gave you some homework yesterday. Open yesterday's session and you'll find out. Kusum, which class are you talking about? The session at 3 p.m. today? Yes. This is for MHCET. Okay, this is for somebody who's aiming to get into institutes like Jamnalal Bajaj. And this session, this editorial session, this is going to help you no matter which exam you're targeting. Even if you're not targeting exams, it will help you even then, right? Also, the vocabulary session is for everybody because vocabulary is something that you would require to deal with in every exam out there, right? Okay. It's okay if the audio is not visible. I've told you about the sessions. If it's not audible, sorry. I've told you about the sessions. Do attend them, right? Okay. Coming to yesterday's homework. So I asked you to find out about what is left, right, center when it comes to politics. One of you, Aniket, messaged in the comments and he gave the right answer. Now, what about the others? Did you try finding it out? Hmm. Okay. So it looks like you didn't, or probably there's a lag. Okay, let me tell you. Right. So when I say left, right, center, what is it that I mean? Okay. So, right, political ideology. Actually, this all started before the French Revolution. There was this king called King Louis XVI. Okay. So now this king, some of the people felt had become very tyrannical, very dominating, very dictatorial. So there was this infighting happening between his ministers where some of them felt that no, we should support the king, and some of them wanted a revolution of sorts. Right. So when a meeting was called and it was said that all those who support the king, his authority, his hierarchies, okay, they convey it to the court. So all of those people gathered to the right. Okay, and all of those people who did not really believe in his authority, who wanted a revolution, who believed in egalitarianism, equality, they gathered to his left. So from then on, the term left in political ideology is used for people who advocate equality, social equality, economic equality, who advocate revolution, lack of hierarchies. These people are liberal. Okay. Whereas the rightists, they are more conservative. They value order, traditions, hierarchy, authority. Okay. So they are more rightist. Center lies somewhere in between. इनके बीच में आता है center. Okay. So if you look at the Indian political scenario, can you tell me which all parties are leftist in India? Tell me. Leftist parties कौन सी इंडिया में? Any idea? Hmm. चलो let me only. अच्छा नहीं, I've got a response. अच्छा, okay. I'll tell you. So, uh, as I told you that leftists, they prefer equality. Rightists, they prefer hierarchy. Right. ठीक है? This is hierarchy, not divide. Okay. Um, So, communist parties, communism as an ideology is considered to be a leftist ideology. If you do not know what communism is, this is your homework, you have to find out. Okay. Rightist parties. So, acha, in India, you have the Communist Party. Tell me the name of that Communist Party. Find out. Okay, the Indian leftist parties. Then BJP earlier was centrist to the right. ऐसा भी हो सकता है. It's a spectrum, na. So you can be centrist, you are rightist, and if you are somewhere here, you are centrist to the right. You can also be centrist to the left. So Congress was called a centrist to the left party. Okay. Uh, this is BJP was centrist to the right. Now some people say it has become right wing completely. Right? Extreme right wing groups would be Shiv Sena. Okay. Leftist, चलो मैं ही बता देती हूँ. CPI Marxist, this party. Vrinda Karat, Prakash Karat, these people, that is a leftist party. Anyway, so this was about right, left, center. I hope it is clear now. The next thing was the government have alienated us. How come am I using have here? So this is something that you will learn with me if you take our grammar sessions. Government is a collective noun. Okay. Collective nouns are those that name a group. So when we name a group, although it is one single group, so it should be singular. But there are circumstances where we can use the plural verb with a collective noun. What are those circumstances? When I want to focus, let's say, the people in government, individuals in government. When I want to focus on the individuals, I'll use plural. When I want to focus on the government as a whole, as a group, I'll use singular, that is has. I hope this is clear to everybody. Right. Aniket, AAP does says that they don't abide by any of these ideologies. They were asked this question. Okay, so they said that we don't really abide by any of these ideologies. Right? Very good. Janina, Sagnik, and Aniket, Rishika. Yes, all of you are correct. All right. So now, did you develop a skeleton? Because nobody really sent it to me, nobody really commented or even mentioned that, okay, I have developed one, except Aniket. So, I'm reiterating this. See, all of this is not useful if you do not do your part of the job. Okay? And I won't give you a lecture on this today. I gave it to you yesterday. All right. So today let's begin an article, right? And I'll be a little speedy here because the language otherwise is not difficult. There are a few words here and there, right? Which you have to understand from the context right now. Okay. I will elaborate some of them as we go in case I feel they are important. But mainly our effort will be to understand them contextually. After we are done, I'll explain you various words. Centuries have gone into the making of gender-based sartorial rules and assumptions. Sartorial rules and assumptions. Now, this is a little important here. Why? Because it's telling us what kind of rules and assumptions I'm going to talk about. So if I don't even know the meaning of the word sartorial, it will be difficult for me. So let me tell you, sartorial means relating to our dressing, relating to basically how we dress. Okay, so centuries have gone into the making of gender-based sartorial rules and assumptions and a bit of sleight of hand as well, a bit of trickery as well. Men were not always inclined towards minimalism in their dress code. So, of course, the moment I say gender-based, that means I'm going to discuss about the dress code of men and women. So, men were not always inclined towards minimalism in their dress code. Okay, for a good portion of human history, they were flamboyant. They were showing off their dress, prone to peacocking their social rank, financial success, and sexual prowess from 100 paces. So, even from a distance, they would show off these things to you, their social rank, their financial success, their sexual prowess. They wore bold colors and luxurious silhouettes and shimmering fabrics. Okay, men used to do that. But then, in the late 18th century, over the course of about 3 decades, men throughout Europe abandoned the styles that had signified wealth and power for centuries. So, in the late 18th century, a change came over. Men abandoned all this shimmery, shiny stuff. Okay, all right. So, who writes this? Writes Richard Thompson Ford in Dress Codes, How the Laws of Fashion Made History. In their place, now again, this is Richard Thompson Ford only speaking. In their place, elite men adopted the sober, self-abnegating garb anticipated by Thomas More in Utopia and first favored by religious Puritans. Okay, so two terms here. So they say that they abandoned all this shimmery, shiny stuff, and in their place, elite men, they adopted sober stuff. Okay, even if let's say you don't understand self-abnegating garb right now, leave it. Anticipated by Thomas More. So somebody had already anticipated that this was going to happen. People are going to move towards sober things. Okay. So this person, Thomas More, had anticipated in Utopia. And this sober clothing was also favored by religious Puritans. Okay, we'll find out who these Puritans are. Simple wool and linen in sober colors of dark blue, brown, grey and black. That is what became fashion in the late 18th century. sober चीजें, simple wool, linen, sober hues. This was later described, so this change was later described as the great masculine renunciation. Do we know the meaning of renunciation? To renounce something, to basically leave it, to let it go. Okay, so this was called the great masculine renunciation, and it's a constant theme in Ford's thoughtful history of rules and rituals of attire. Okay, Ford is this guy who has written this book, Dress Codes, How the Laws of Fashion Made History. Right, let me check your comments. Peacocking in Hindi, okay. Actually, peacock is a noun. This author has used it as a verb. As a verb, a peacock is a vain creature, right? Show off करता है अपना appearance. Okay, he has a lot of pride on its appearance. So peacocking means showing off. Okay. Paces, 100 paces मतलब 100 steps पीछे से भी वो आपको show off कर देंगे. Even from a distance, they'll show off things to you. That's what it means. Okay. All right. Now, coming to our next paragraph. So first paragraph is clear to you. We are talking about, we're tracing the history of something, of what? Sartorial rules and assumptions, basically fashion, how it was, how it changed for men. Ford isn't a historian, Ford isn't a fashion historian, but rather a professor at Stanford Law School. So this guy Ford, whose book we mentioned in the first paragraph, he's not a fashion historian, but rather a professor at Stanford Law School. Now, see this, why I've particularly highlighted this. As such, he doesn't wallow in the minutiae of Savile Row tailoring or wander into the weeds of 7th Avenue personalities. Okay, too many words, too many heavy words, right? So, let's say you don't know what Savile Row tailoring is or what 7th Avenue is. Trust me, it is absolutely fine until a question has been framed from here. Unless a question has been framed, it's absolutely fine. So, but yes, you probably would need to understand the meaning of wallow, or if you have a rough understanding of minutiae, that will help. So, even if you don't, as such, let's try to understand from the simpler words. As such, he doesn't do X. Let's say this is X. As such, he doesn't do X. ये नहीं कर रहा है वो. Instead, he has a lawyer's eye for the ways in which legislation and common law have helped shape attitudes about fashion. So, as such, he is not considering tailoring personalities. Instead, he has a lawyer's eye for the ways in which law has actually helped shape attitudes about fashion. So even if I don't know this, I've got a rough understanding. So as such, he doesn't go into tailoring, he doesn't go into personalities, rather he looks at things from a legal point of view. He has a lawyer's eye, thinking that how law has shaped fashion. Right? So this is how you attempt an RC passage. This is how you read articles. There is a lot of chance that there are going to be words, there is going to be jargon related to the field that you aren't aware of. But probably you don't even need to be. Something that I've been reiterating from class 1. Right? So don't panic. Don't feel that you don't know this or you can't read this passage just because you don't know a couple of sentences, a couple of jargons that have been used. That was the whole point of highlighting this. And believe me, I'll be honest with you, till yesterday even I didn't know what Savile Row was or what 7th Avenue was. Okay. So, silhouettes, flamboyant, I'll tell you all the meanings after we are done with this article. Right now, I'm deliberately not telling you these meanings. I'll tell you what 7th Avenue is, what Savile Row is. Okay. Just be a little patient because I want you to infer the meanings contextually right now. Okay. Instead, he has a lawyer's eye for the ways in which legislation and common law have helped shape attitudes about fashion, along with a fan's sustained curiosity about fashion's visual language. So he is a fan of fashion. He has this sustained curiosity that how fashion actually communicates so much. It has a visual language. We choose our clothes for a host of reasons. Now, this is something that you will relate to a lot. We choose our clothes for a host of reasons: comfort, appropriateness, self-expression, tradition, right? So, for on certain occasions, we think, "Acha, traditionally pehenenge aaj to. It's Diwali, we'll wear something traditional," right? So, we choose our clothes for a host of reasons. Our wardrobe is also filled with coded messages about power, wealth, and status. Yes, we do communicate power, wealth, and status through our clothes. That's there, right? Ford explores the ways in which our laws and traditions have dictated dress. This is something that's all of you are aware of. The traditions, the culture of a society, they dictate how people dress there, right? Even the laws can dictate how people dress, and how those rules serve to maintain order. How these rules are being used to maintain order in society, right? That's why conservative people get angry when, let's say, someone wears something that they consider indecent, because clothes, in a way, are also used to maintain order in the society. There was a time when only women of questionable morals, okay? There was a time when only women of questionable morals wore earrings. Imagine. Black men and women were kept at the bottom of the social hierarchy by codes that dictated the degree to which they could indulge in finery, fine clothes. So they were not even allowed to indulge in fine clothing, even if they happened to be, let's say, relatively well off, which was rare, but could be the case, right? But because they were black, they were not allowed. But fashion is perhaps at its most powerful when shaping our understanding and misunderstanding of gender. Okay, so uh, so far we have discussed how fashion changed for men. Men changed how they dressed up in the late 18th century. Then we talk about Thomson Ford's book Dress Codes, How the Laws of Fashion Made History. And we mentioned that, okay, from what perspective he has written this book. Okay, so from a lawyer's eye. Then he tells you that, okay, there are various reasons for which we wear clothes, traditions and law. And then he gives examples. See, these are examples. The purpose of these sentences is just to give you evidence examples. Let's see. Uh, there was this time when black men and women were not really allowed to even display their finery, even if they had it. But, acha, there is a but. As I told you, we pay attention to these transition words. But fashion is perhaps at its most powerful when shaping our understanding and misunderstanding of gender. Legal battles have been fought over standards of attire. Imagine, people have fought over clothing that did not treat men and women equally. So now it becomes important. Why they fought over clothing, attire? Because it did not treat men and women equally. Women have lamented the pink tax. So this is a term that I think is essential. It's important for you to know. Okay, you can actually use it in your conversations. What is the pink tax? Have you ever gone to the market? Particularly, I'm talking to the women who are listening to me, the girls who are listening to me, and felt that girls के clothes हमेशा ही ज़्यादा महंगे होते हैं. That things that are meant for women are costlier. Okay. Plus, women are supposed to dress up well. Women are supposed to be prim and proper. This is the pink tax. It reflects all the ways that women are forced to pay a premium because of their gender. Okay. All the ways they are forced to pay a premium because of their gender, including the cost of their clothing and the upkeep of it. Right? If you buy expensive clothes, you also need to maintain them, right? So this is called the pink tax. It's an important term in gender studies. You can actually read more about it. And fashion and gender are at the heart of a combustible conversation about individual identity. So actually, fashion and gender, they affect your individual identity and the room that this country makes for the full expression of it. And how much does our country allow a full expression of individual identity is also determined by this relationship between fashion and gender. So far, so good? अनिकेत नहीं होते हैं सस्ते. Okay. All right. I'm hoping all of this is clear to you. ठीक है, तो अब हमने but से the author has made an important argument here, right? So, but yet, however, when the author wants to contradict a popular argument, no, that this is what is the popular perception, but yet, however, so these can be markers that tell you that now the author's argument is beginning. Can be, not certainly that's always going to be the case. Okay. Historically, let's come to history. Historically, men and women could be punished for wearing clothes that didn't adhere to the gender rules of the day. Men and women could actually be punished for it. Code quotes a local ordinance, a local rule of sorts. Ordinance, you understand, no? Something when we don't have time to pass a law, it's a temporary law that we pass, ordinance. Code quotes a local ordinance passed in 1848 in Columbus, Ohio, that spelled things out. No person, this was the ordinance, no person shall appear upon any public street or other public space in a state of nudity or in a dress not belonging to his or her sex. If that happened, it was punishable. Okay, so imagine the strict codes that people have had to adhere to since history, right? That's why, Ranveer Singh, when he wears clothes that people generally consider feminine, is trolled so much. Why? Because of these strong norms that exist. Okay, and this conditioning that we have had that men can wear only a particular type of clothing and women can wear only a particular type, right? To step outside of one's gender designation was to take aim at the power structure. If you tried to wear something that didn't fit your gender, it was basically like challenging the existing power structure. Something that continued well into the 20th century when designers such as Coco Chanel and Saint Laurent created trousers for women. You know this? Chanel, you must have heard of this brand, right? So, Chanel was the one who first created trousers for women. Otherwise, they were reserved for men. Okay, so Chanel and Saint, this is pronounced as Laurent, created trousers for women. And those garments were deemed unfit attire. Of course, that happens when anything new comes. That's revolutionary. So they were deemed unfit attire in venues from upper crust Manhattan restaurants to the floor of the US Senate. So the US Senate rejected it. These high-end restaurants rejected them. Okay, they were frowned upon. In assessing dress, Ford notes that that there really isn't anything particularly feminine or masculine about clothing. They're clothes. Okay, they're supposed to just cover your body from, let's say, heat, dust. Okay, so there's nothing feminine or masculine about them. Trousers and dresses can be tailored to fit anybody, right? Anatomy is beside the point. Okay, we'll look at anatomy also in case you don't know. Anatomy is beside the point. So now see examples. Examples begin from here. Ruffles and feathers and sequins are not inherently feminine. Feathers, you understand, they're used in clothing also. Sequins, sitare, right? Ruffles, जो ऐसे ऐसे वाले structure होता है, this is ruffles. So ruffles are not inherently feminine. Nobody said that only women can wear it. Nobody actually intended that. And pinstripes and herringbone. Herringbone. See, again, I don't know the meaning and I don't care. It's not going to matter. It's just an example that has been presented to support this idea. Okay. And pinstripes and herringbone are not masculine. That they have these gendered attachments is simply a matter of power. So we attached this gender to them. There was nothing inherently masculine or feminine about them. Okay, and we did it to maintain power, to maintain the current order, to maintain the status quo, the current order of power. Okay, things as they exist right now, that's status quo. All right. Let me see if you have any queries. Perfect. The great masculine renunciation overturned the symbols of status, sex, and political power established in the late Middle Ages and created a new sartorial vocabulary. This word came earlier, dressing vocabulary, for the expression of individual personality. So when this happened, no, when men abandoned their fancy, shimmery, shiny clothing, Then it created a new vocabulary for expressing your individual personality. It made understatement, basically not showing off, it made understatement into a new kind of status symbol. You must have noticed this, no? That if you look at some very wealthy, rich, affluent people, they wear very simple clothes, very sober, and yet those sober clothes are very expensive. So this happened in the late 18th century in the Europe, that simplicity became a status symbol. So wearing sober clothes became a status symbol. And if you're wearing something simple, communicating status through that is, it requires poise. It requires a sense of surety in yourself. कि हाँ मुझे पता है expensive है. I don't need to really tell it to you, right? So it required savoir-faire as well as ready cash to exhibit. Savoir-faire is a sense of self-surety. When you are sure about yourself, it's also called sureness. Okay, about yourself. That is savoir-faire. It's a French term which requires savoir-faire as well as ready cash. Of course, you need money to show this, right? So Ford writes this. And because it has a masculine phenomenon, it excluded women. Because it was a masculine renunciation, it excluded women who sought power and status. Okay, only men were allowed, in a way, allowed to do this, right? Wear sober clothes. So this transformation, when this change happened, no, it created layers of contradictions and countless hurdles for anyone who wasn't fluent in this new subtle language. So anyone who wasn't really up to date with fashion faced a lot of hurdles because suddenly fashion change ho gaya, right? And women were excluded from it, so women were confused. What to do now? It is why, this is why Ford sees prudence. Ford thinks that it's a good practice in historically black colleges and universities such as Morehouse that they proactively emphasize. वो पहले ही उस कॉलेज में वो अपने स्टूडेंट्स को पहले ही बता देते हैं that see, these are the nuances of professional dress. You must have also had these sessions in your college, no? Before the placement session where they tell you what to wear, what not to wear. So this is what Morehouse is also doing. It proactively emphasizes the nuances of establishment professional dress. Okay, why is it doing this? Because it wants to ensure that students fully understand the norms. Students fully understand what is considered normal in the society. They understand the society's traditions. So it wants that its students fully understand the norms that they may wish to even eschew. I'll tell you this later. This sartorial shift also makes plain the challenges that women in power continue to face. अब ये जब shift हुआ तो women को तो challenges आ गए because वो तो excluded थी. So it actually makes plain the challenges that women have to face. Feminine dress codes, normally bright colors, decoration, it's associated with female dresses. Okay, and it has long been seen as the attire of the powerless, people who are powerless. So you see how clothes can symbolize so much. Now, this last paragraph. Fashion, though, is malleable. Something that can be changed. Malleable. Remember, metals are malleable and ductile. They can be changed into different shapes. And Ford makes an elegant argument that because fashion is a living language, it's a language, it has the capacity to evolve. Ford makes this elegant argument. Those who are willing to transgress, go beyond, violate, challenge against the established dress codes, force the rules to change. तो जो beyond जा रहे हैं वो rules को change कर रहे हैं, ठीक है? So there are people, right, who don't care about their gender particularly when they dress. So they are actually challenging those norms. They force power to change hands. They are forcing power to change hands. You know, a very simple example I'll give you. It is never considered very offensive if a woman wears man's clothes. Let's say I'm talking about India. So if a woman wears trousers, it will not be considered offensive. We do that in office all the time, trousers, shirts, right? But if a man wears something that belongs to women, like a sari or a suit, it's considered so offensive, so demeaning. So you see how power is governed by clothes. So people who challenge this, they are forcing power to change hands, or at least over time, even if that power does change hands, at least they want it to be shared, right? So this was the article. I loved it, so I thought to share it with you. And yes, it did have some jargon here and there. Pink tax, okay, then the wild rose, Seventh Avenue. It had some words like silhouettes, self-abnegating, right? So that's why I chose it. What does the word eschew mean? The word eschew means to abandon. Let's see the vocabulary words now. Eschew means to abandon. Sartorial means relating to how we dress. Minimalism. Minimalism means keeping things minimal. Okay, not showing off. So minimalism in your dress would mean that you wear simple, sober clothes, functional clothes. Okay, minimalism in your lifestyle means that you don't buy a lot of stuff in your life just to show it off to your peers. You don't buy expensive things just to show off. That is minimalism. To pick up as a verb, it means to show off, to, with pride, to act vain. That is peacocking. Silhouettes. See, silhouette actually means a dark outline. Okay, but here it has been used for clothes. So here it has a slightly different meaning. See, every dress creates a sort of a boundary to your body, right? It highlights your body in a specific way. So trousers highlight it in a particular way, let's say. Pardon my bad drawing, right? So this shape that each piece of clothing gives to you, this is called silhouette, the shape to your body. Okay. Self-abnegating. Self-abnegating. Self-abnegate means to abandon, deny things to yourself. Abnegate is to abandon, to deny. So self-abnegating means to deny yourself. Okay, so self-abnegating garb. So what did elite men do towards the end of the 18th century? They showed as if they were denying themselves fashion by wearing just simple clothes. Okay, so they abnegated all the shimmery, shiny stuff. Okay, and kind of showed that see we are abandoning all of this. हमारे पास time ही नहीं है, तो simple लोग हैं, ठीक है? Religious Puritans. Puritans are very traditional people who believe that things should be done as per the original traditions. Okay, so people who don't want to change, who want to follow books, who want to go by the book strictly, they are Puritans. It is often used in a religious context. जो बहुत orthodox religious लोग होते हैं, traditional, उनके लिए भी use होता है. Okay, renunciation means to abandon. Wallow, to indulge in something in an unrestrained way. Right? So right now, for instance, I feel like I am wallowing in reading. I am indulging in reading in an unrestrained way. मैं पढ़ रही हूँ और मैं flow में बहती जा रही हूँ. ठीक है? That is wallowing. Minutiae. Minutiae. I think it's clear. Minute से आया है. It's a noun. It means the minute details. Right? Okay. Jargon. So while Row is actually a popular street in London, again, as I said, I googled this yesterday. 7th Avenue is a popular street in New York. And I think no prizes for guessing that these streets are famous for their fashion, for all the fashion houses that are there, for all the trendy clothes that you get here, right? Achha, so Aniket and Priya think it's from Aeon. We'll see that, right? Okay. Finery, fine, and anything that's fine. You're fine, basically posh, sophisticated. It could be even your crockery. It could be your clothing. Okay, that is finery. All right. Herringbone, it's just a design. जो ऐसे वाला design होता है ना. So this sort of a vertical design on clothes, this is called herringbone. These arrow-like structures. Okay, like pinstripes are this, herringbone is this. Okay. Savoir-faire, it's a French term. I've already told you the meaning. Okay. Basically, a sense of shortness, to say, to behave appropriately. Basically, when you know the right way to behave at every occasion, when you're so confident of yourself, that is also savoir faire, to behave in exactly the manner that the occasion requires, right? Some people are like that. And eschew is to abandon. So there were about 13 4 vocabulary words here, right? This was your article. Now let's apply. So, when I ask you what is the likely source of this passage, I am not asking you the name of the newspaper or the name of the magazine. I'm asking you, do you think it's, let's say, something that has been taken from a play, okay? Or you think it's sort of a compare, contrast. It's a contrast, let's say, two personalities. Basically, I'm more bothered about the form of it. क्या है ये? Story hai, play hai, what is it? So where do you think this must have been picked from? A story, a play, what exactly? The details that it covers will give you the answer. Like kar do yaar session. Gradeup is messaging you in the chat box. Okay. Details देखते हैं दोबारा से, फिर बताना मुझे. Fashion, we talk about fashion. We talk about Richard Thompson Ford. In fact, we include a lot of what is written in this book, right? So we even give what Ford does, the perspective from which he has seen things, right? So then Ford writes, that's there at multiple places. Okay, how Ford sees things. Again, Ford makes an elegant argument. So I think I have more or less given you the answer. Yes, tell me. Very Priya, it's a book review. Okay, a virtual toffee to you. It's a book review. Good Harpreet, yes. Okay, so this is a book review of the book that we mentioned in the beginning itself, Dress Codes, How the Laws of Fashion Made History. Okay, and no, this is not from Aeon. This is from Washington Post. Okay, so another popular newspaper. This is from there. What is the tone of this passage? I think if you've answered this, you'll be able to answer this. That's why I didn't include any options today. You say it's a book review, absolutely correct. So what is the tone of this passage? Good Aniket, good Rijita, good Rishika, Isha. Tone of the passage. Argumentative, okay. Compare and contrast. What are we comparing and contrasting here? Okay, Aniket also says argumentative. Okay, analytical or argumentative, okay. Others? Critical. It's not just criticism, right? So the answer can't be critical. We are delving into the depth of something, okay. Right, so the passage starts with saying centuries have gone into the making of gender-based sartorial rules and assumptions, and a bit of trickery as well, right? So then we talk about how men abnegated or abandoned a particular style of dressing to favor the other, okay. And then we mention the arguments of Ford. So Ford ने जो book लिखी है वो argumentative है. Okay, that's the point that I wanted to make through this article. Ford's book is argumentative. It is making an argument, right? This is a review of that book. So the author is telling us what is Ford's perspective, right? So the author is delving into the depth of this book. Right. So, analytical or argumentative? Which one would you say? Think this through and tell me. Let's see the details again. The answer always lies in the passage itself, in a way, right? So, this is where the book is mentioned. Then, Ford's arguments are discussed, right? Then we discuss Ford's profession. We usually do that when we write book reviews, right? That what does the author do otherwise? Then we chose our clothes for a host of reasons. Okay, this could be the author. Okay, no, Ford explores the ways in which. So Ford ka viewpoint. Then fashion is perhaps the most powerful. This seems to be like the author's argument here. Okay, but fashion is perhaps the most powerful when shaping our understanding and misunderstanding of gender. Okay, then this fact is mentioned, and this has been basically she's quoting Ford here, that Ford ने देखो law भी बताया है. Okay, so then this again looks like the author's view. To step outside of one's gender designation was to take aim at the power structure. Okay, this is description, what it did actually. Okay, it overturned the symbols of status. This transformation created lots of contradictions. Again, author का view लग रहा है, right? That is why Ford sees difference. So, although this is a book review, at various points we find the author also making her arguments. It's like she agrees with what Ford has written. An analysis covers pros as well as cons. See, an analysis delves into the depth of something. ये article भी depth में जा रहा है, but यहाँ पे लग नहीं रहा देख के that the author is also inclined towards what Ford is saying. The author also believes in this. The author is also trying to persuade us of this, right? So it is more on the argumentative side, this article. Okay, because we do not see any criticism of the book. You see this? कुछ भी उसने negative नहीं लिखा है. Okay, so this is on the argumentative side. All right, that's the tone of this passage, and yes, those who said argumentative in the beginning itself were absolutely correct. I was just testing you that you should know the difference, that Ford की book भी argumentative है, and while book reviews in general are analytical, बुक रिव्यूज जनरली एनालिटिकल होते हैं, वो आपको पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव दोनों बताते हैं. यहाँ पे द ऑथर सीम्स टू बी अग्रीइंग विद व्हाट फोर्ड इज सेइंग. शी आल्सो इज कन्विंस्ड एंड शी इज ट्राइंग टू कन्विंस यू इन रिटर्न. हेंस आर्गुमेंटेटिव, राइट? अच्छा, quickly tell, why has the author written this passage? I think if you've answered these two, this is a very easy question. So, more or less, you have already answered this. Okay, we have already answered this question. The author has written this passage in order to delve into the depth of a book written by, the name of this person was Richard Thompson Ford, called Dress Codes, How the Laws of Fashion Made History, and argue that historically fashion has been really influenced by law. We have this strict thing that this is what is acceptable for men, this is what is not. But ends on this note, she ends on by making this argument that fashion is malleable. We can change it, challenge the current power structure. Right? So I think मैंने बहुत लंबा बता दिया main idea. The main idea is yes, to delve into the depth of it and argue something related to it, right? Okay. Now, this was the application part. I hope you've got the tone, you've got why the author has written this passage, the purpose, and you've also understood the vocabulary words that we discussed, right? So now, uh, your homework for today. Find an article that you're familiar, where you're familiar with the genre. So for instance, this genre was easy for me. Gender, I've read articles on gender, so easy genre. But let's say if I'm not a gender studies student, then some words can be jargon for me, no? For instance, they explained pink tax here. What if they hadn't explained pink tax? मुझे नहीं पता pink tax क्या है otherwise, right? So find one such article for yourself जिसमें jargon used हो. Now, when you are reading, infer the meaning contextually, strictly. Don't look up the words. But after reading, search for the actual meaning and see how right or how wrong you were. Match that, right? So this is an exercise in reading unfamiliar articles where you're not familiar with the jargon, which is very important because सारे passages तो familiar नहीं आएंगे ना, right? Okay, so this is your homework for today. Any queries that you have, you can ask me right now. Sartorial emancipation of women. Emancipation would not be the correct theme here. We're not talking about emancipation actually. हुआ नहीं है emancipation. हम challenge करने की बात कर रहे हैं actually. Okay? All right. In case you want to receive the link for this article, I'll share it in the Telegram group today. Okay? So you can join our Telegram group for that. Now, you know that this crash course is running already. In case you're targeting MHCT, do join this course and do attend the session at 3 p.m. today. Right? These are our courses for June. If you're targeting MHCT, non-CAT exams, then we also have batches for that. You are already aware of the super subscription. In case you aren't, these are the details. Both CAT and non-CAT courses, or both the years 21, 22, we are catering to them. This is our amazing team. As I said, my picture will be up here shortly. I've joined just a week ago. Okay. And these are our plans for CAT 21 and for CAT 22. Okay. This is the MHCT challenge, mock challenge that I was talking to you about yesterday as well. Do take this free mock. Okay. I think even if you're not appearing for MHCT, then also you can take it. It will be practice in parajumbles and RC passages. Right? Internet to free मिलेगा ही subscription के साथ. And please, you like these sessions. It really helps us actually. Okay, we're not just asking you for this for the sake of it. It actually helps us when you like, when you share. Word of mouth actually reaches across, and it helps us. Okay, so do like, share, comment, and do attempt your homework. Also, I'll catch you at 12 with words based on Harry Potter spells. Okay, it's a book that I absolutely love. If you also love it and if you want to, understand some words based on it, based on the spells, do attend. Okay, and of course, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all these places. Okay. Acha, Rijita, it's a very pertinent point that you've raised. Normally, when we say argument, no, so we say, acha, un dono ki na argument ho gayi. So we interpret it as a negative term. Okay, in our, let's say, daily lives when we say two people are arguing with each other. But in logic, an argument is simply when you give your viewpoint backed by logical reasons. So if I'm telling you, let's say this MI phone is good because it has a great camera, it has a good memory, right? And basically I give you facts for that. So that is an argument. This I'm making an argument here. मैं तो नहीं लड़ रही किसी से, मैं कुछ negative भी नहीं बोल रही, but this is an argument. So argument does not have a negative connotation when we talk about an RC passage. Okay. I hope this is clear, Rajita. Source of this article, this is from the Washington Post. Okay. This is it from my side. I'll see you at 12 and then at 3. Okay. Do attend the session. In case you're following our Parajumble series on Gradeup app, then I'll take a Parajumble session today at 5 there. Okay. See you. Bye. Have a good day. You're welcome.